at University of Pittsburgh. They both have, have worked extremely hard at SG. They've played since their 11s and 12s. I've seen them grow up quite a bit, and they've become phenomenal women. So it'll be great for you guys to, listen to what they have to say and also ask questions that you might have. Please do not hesitate to ask questions, because both Clare and Kayla are very extremely responsible, very hardworking players. And I had the privilege of coaching both of the girls, and they're amazing. They worked hard every practice. Clare would sprain her ankle, Kayla would sprain her ankle. Next practice, let's go, coach. And, with Clare, I remember she had a pool incident where she hit her head against the pool wall, and she'll be like, I want to play, Kenji. I want to play. I was like, no, Clare, don't do it yet. And she would always bug me every practice, can I play? And we finally got to have her play, but she wore this helmet, and she wore it. She played hard, and that helmet was like a battle of honor. And then Kayla, I remember there's two particular stories about Kayla. Is one, during her 15th year, she was asked to play on a youth national team for USA, and she actually said no to that to play with her team at JOs that year, and that to me earned a lot of respect from me. And her senior year, things weren't, we didn't make open that year, but she was one of the first girls that said we're playing at nationals and we're going to do our best even without playing in open, and that showed so much character. So from that standpoint, there's a lot of things that we could all learn from the two girls, or two women, excuse me. So pay attention as best you can, and also ask as many questions. And if you're afraid to ask verbally, go ahead and just put in the chat, and Serena will help you out. And Serena, our co-host here, or actually the host, Serena Gray, she currently plays at Penn State. So, we have an exciting panel of people here. And then, of course, you have not the host, Jazz, and then the other Kenji Mukai over there. That's not me. So, but anyways, let's get started. Clare, if you don't mind introducing yourself a little bit, and also just, telling us your journey and any kind of advice you have for the girls.
So like you said, my name's Clare. I just finished my last year of eligibility at Northeastern University. I'm getting my doctorate in physical therapy, so I still have 2 more years at the school, which is great. I really miss it in quarantine. And my recruiting story, like everyone's, is pretty unique. I actually, from the first moment I talked to coach to when I committed, was maybe a little bit over a week, maybe 8 or 9 days. But it worked out. I was a late recruit. I didn't commit until my senior year. And I played a couple positions. I was kind of a passer and kind of a setter. And if you needed me on the right side, I could, kind of do it. Not really. But so that made it kind of tough to recruit. And I also was pretty focused on what I wanted academically. So getting those to line up was a challenge, but I found Northeastern. It was a great fit. I've loved my 4 years there.
All right, and Kayla Lund, would you like to introduce yourself? Thank you for sharing, Clare.
Yeah, hi guys. I am Kayla. I just finished my junior year at the University of Pittsburgh. My recruiting process was the complete opposite of Clare. Unlike Clare, I had no idea what I wanted to do academically. So for me, it was kind of finding a place that I could fall in love with, not only just like the campus and the people there, but also the volleyball, and then just find like a big university where I could really explore my academic options. I have absolutely loved Pittsburgh. Like Clare, it's very far from California, and so it was definitely different adjusting to the seasons and being far away from home. But the team, the coaching staff is really what drew me into Pittsburgh. They stuck with me from the beginning of my recruiting process. I'm a shorter outside hitter. I'm 6 feet with shoes on, and I don't jump very high at all. And so a lot of big time schools overlooked me because I couldn't jump high enough. But Pittsburgh was one of the schools that kind of was interested in me from the beginning and really stuck with me throughout my whole entire recruiting process, really believed in me and looked at me as a program changer and just could be a big impact to the program. And Pittsburgh volleyball is at the highest level that it's ever been in program history. So from my freshman year to where we're at now, it has been a really unique and really cool ride. And I'm just so thankful that I made the decision to go to Pittsburgh, and grateful to be there and be able to talk to you guys tonight.
Well, that's awesome, Kayla. And do you think you could talk to the girls a little bit about you mentioned how the Pittsburgh coaches were kind of there with you the whole time from when you were recruited, from freshman year and then to junior year, even still being a great support system for you. So can you talk about how much of a change it was being recruited by one set of coaches and then playing for another, and how you guys kind of meshed?
Yeah, so the beginning of my recruiting process, there was an assistant coach. His name is Craig Dyer. He later went to then Penn State and then is now at Creighton. And so majority of my recruiting process, I communicated with him, and I communicated some with the head coach, but only when it was like really important. And most of my, communications, as most of you guys probably know, is with the assistant coach. So on my first visit there, Craig was there. And then after my first visit, from that time on, he was no longer there. So for me, it wasn't too much of adjustment because he was just the assistant coach, and I had really just communicated with him like through emails and phone calls. And so it was I pretty much just got to know the rest of the staff a lot better. And then just had to pretty much say goodbye to Craig and just get used to the other coaching members, which they were awesome as well. So
Awesome. And Claire, you talked about how your recruiting process was a lot faster than most people's. How did you get to know your coaches and know that it was the right fit given your circumstances?
So like I said, I was really looking for a school academically, and Northeastern had a great physical therapy program, which I was really drawn to. Like Kayla, like pretty much everyone I talked to, the assistant coach, he was really sweet. They said they needed my position and that it was going to work out for me to be on the team, which I was super grateful for. The head coach, whom I met a little bit later, was same boat, also really nice. I actually ended up flying out and taking an official visit a couple days after calling them, and fell in love with the campus. The team was super nice. The athletic community at Northeastern is really tight-knit. Every team is close with every other team, which I definitely got a sense for. I went to my first hockey game, loved it. So kind of just was able to visit right off the bat and fell in love then.
Awesome. And you mentioned that you're earning your doctorate in physical therapy. And was it difficult balancing volleyball and earning your doctorate? Because most people play volleyball while earning their undergraduate degrees.
Yeah, so definitely a little bit of a different story. My PT class, there's 100 of us and only 2 of us were athletes. So there was another girl, she's a pole vaulter. She's probably my best friend at the school. And just kind of finding good people to surround yourself with, I think is a really big part of being successful on and off the court. Lucky for me, my team is also very academically driven. We had a few girls go to med school, a bunch of nurses, a bunch of engineers. So I wasn't alone in the boat of having just tons of homework. And just figuring out how to do homework on the road and being really efficient with your time. Even if you have 10 minutes in the lobby of a hotel before you're going to go to practice before a match, you can really get a lot done if you use your time well. So I think just surrounding yourself with people who kind of have those same values and value school as much as they do their sport is really important and helped me a lot.
All right. And was this very stressful for you, your academic journey? And Kayla, you can weigh in on this too.
I don't get stressed out a lot over school. If I get stressed, then I study, and that kind of seems to do the trick for me. It's nice because volleyball is a fall sport, you're traveling right off the bat and you get to know your team right off the bat. So it definitely is a fast adjustment from summer vacation to doing something every minute of every day. But I think just making sure to take some time for yourself and finding ways to not get too stressed about school can really help.
All right. And Kayla?
For me, it's a little opposite. I would definitely stress more about school, probably because when I get stressed, I probably wouldn't go and study. But what really helped me was just being able to like separate volleyball, academics, and social life. So when I'm playing volleyball, like I'm all in, that's what I'm doing. I'm not worrying about the exams that I have, the homework that I have. I'm not worrying about like any outside drama. And then when I'm doing school, like I'm doing school, I'm going to put my phone away and I'm going to really do like a couple hours and just dive into that. And then social life, don't worry about anything else, whether it's volleyball related, school related. So being able to, whatever I'm doing, like really put all my focus into that has really been something that helps me like actually get work done. For Pitt too, we have to be there for summer school. So I leave, we have to be there in June. And so the good thing about that is, one, we get a lot of training time before season to get really close, but also we have to take classes. So I'm able to, I'm not the greatest student. Being honest, I've never been super passionate about school. It's just been something that like I do, and I'll get a degree and get a job from it. But because we have to go over summer because of volleyball and like the way that, like the great way that they've set it up, I'm double majoring and able to graduate in 3.5 years. So I went from like not really caring that much about academics to it being like really paid off and really successful of my collegiate years.
All right. And what are you double majoring in, Kayla?
I'm doing communications and psychology.
I'm a psych major. That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Going off of like the same topic of like being mentally ready for college, how do you guys mentally prepare for games? Because I know everyone has like their own thing. Or even like mentally preparing for practices too, because those are like usually harder. So.
Yeah, like Kayla said, I think it's really important that when you're playing volleyball, you're playing volleyball. When you're doing other things, you're doing other things. So when you're in the locker room getting ready, I find it's helpful to kind of do the same thing every game day, kind of get a rhythm down. By your senior year, you've played 120 or so matches. So you definitely establish a rhythm, but just blocking everything else out and having the main focus be on your teammates and how you're going to play well for them and your coaches and everybody who has helped you get as far as you are, I think puts kind of like an emphasis on the reason why we're playing in college, and really helped me to just kind of dial into a game or practice or whatever I was going into.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And like games are why we play, like those big moments, having the crowds, you've put in countless numbers of hours leading up to games. You scouted the team. So it's really just a lot of excitement. And when those nerves come, just being able to like be with your teammates and whether you guys want to dance before games or sing, or maybe you're a person that likes to just chill out, do whatever you find like that works best for you. And just being really confident in the fact that you have put in so much work, that you know what to do, you know how to handle game time, you know how to play volleyball. So just not to worry about all the outside factors and just be really confident in all of the work that you have already put in.
All right. And how do you deal with expectations of your coaches? Because I know, Kayla, being one of the more prominent players on your team, you spend a lot of time on the court and you have a lot to carry and a lot of responsibility. So how do you play knowing that you have that expectation?
That's a good question. Honestly, I don't really think of it much of an expectation, more of like an honor. And I definitely I haven't always had that pressure. My freshman year, I was a freshman. I was in and out of playing time. But until like my sophomore and especially my junior year, becoming a role player, it's more of just been super exciting for me, in one that I love being a leader. I love in like pressure situations being like, yeah, set me the ball or serve me the ball, anything like that. So it's really just an honor that if my coaches are thinking of me in that way, that my teammates trust me that much. So I think it's really cool.
All right. And Claire, you are a leader on your team too, being the senior libero, and I think you have 1,000 and something digs. Anyways, that's crazy. But how did you kind of deal with the same pressure or honor that Kayla was faced with?
For me, I think it just boils down to working hard for every single practice, every single point. No matter what it is, if you work your hardest, coaches recognize that, they reward that. And if you work your hardest, you can't really be mad at yourself for anything. So in terms of coaches' expectations, I think manage yourself first, manage what you can control, which is your attitude, your effort, that whole spiel, and everything else will kind of fall into place in terms of coaches, because they do recognize the hard work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how have coaching styles kind of changed going from club to college?
I think in college you have a huge coaching staff devoted to one team, and it's a little bit more micromanaged, I would say, just because they have the staffing, they have the stats. At least for me, and I'm assuming most schools out there, we filmed every practice, every game. We were able to go over everything. So every little detail mattered a little bit more, I would say. But it's no different. Like, ball's still round, the court's still square.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit faster, I'd say, but every coach is going to teach passing the first practice and whatnot. So I think just mentally going back to the basics whenever you feel stressed or a little bit frazzled is a really good reminder to keep in your back pocket.
Mm-hmm. Kayla?
Yeah, that was pretty well said. I agree. She answered it.
Okay. Now, obviously, practices in college are a lot different. You're kind of in club, you pay to play, but in college, you guys get what I'm trying to say. But anyways, it's a totally different expectation. Practices are definitely a lot longer. They're a lot more frequent, and you get a lot more intense feedback. So how do you guys mentally prepare for each practice and get through each practice? Because sometimes you really want to quit. The drills are really hard, and it's day 1,000 of preseason, it feels like.
Yeah, definitely some days are easier than others. Some days seem like they fly by, other days seem like they're dragging on. Um, I think what's important during that time is just being with your teammates and like making sure that you guys are in it together. And something that our team is really big on that we've actually struggled with in the past is like people complaining.
Mhm.
And when you start getting complainers, it becomes really like toxic and it can get really contagious. And so once one person is like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this today, then everybody else is like, maybe if they weren't going to say it, they were kind of thinking it, but they're trying to get themselves out of it. And then you hear that and you're like, yeah, you know what? Me neither. I'm not. And then you kind of have this like unconscious idea of like, I don't really want to do this. I don't think I'm going to work as hard today. And maybe you're not really thinking that, but that's what happens naturally. So just making sure that like as a team and there's a great leader to be like, hey, I know we're in the middle of finals week. We're practicing 5 hours a day. We're tired. We're waking up early, but this is like a want to versus have to mentality. Like we're going to be here. We're tired, but we're going to kick butt anyway. We're going to get better because we love it here. Let's try to like keep our minds on the positive things versus the negative. And some days are definitely more of a grind than others, and just being super grateful to be there. Like not a very little percentage of people get the opportunity to be a Division 1, 2, 3 NAIA JUCO athlete. So to just be able to play a sport at another level is like, you should be very grateful for. So a constant reminder of that is really important, because it does get hard and it's really easy to focus on the negative.
All right. And Claire, did you have the same mentality going into practice as Kayla? Like having that constant reminder that it's a privilege to play volleyball and that's what got you through practices?
Yeah, I agree with Kayla completely. I think just having the gratitude that you've made it to this point and for all the people who have helped you along the way is a big deal. We would kind of all, the harder the practice or the harder the drill, the more accomplished, the more kind of like united your team felt after. So just knowing that like the hard work and the grind, it will pay off in the end, and it especially feels good if you kind of stick together with your teammates and know that you're not the only one, going through this hard drill or whatever it may be, and just constantly thinking of your family, your St. Gabriel family, everyone who kind of got you to that point and why you're there.
All right. And what do you guys feel? This is a question from Trent. He wants to know, what is the biggest adjustment you guys had to make from club to college? And I think he's asking more like not volleyball wise, more like socially, being away from your friends, or just college in general.
Mine was being really homesick and being away from home, like my freshman season. I'm very lucky in the fact that my parents were able to make it up to a couple of games, so I got to see them a decent amount throughout the season. But just like adjusting to completely living on your own, and it definitely, you have so much freedom where at times that's awesome, then other times you feel like lost because you're like, I've never had this much freedom before. What do I do with it? Which can benefit and hurt you. So a big transition was kind of having that much freedom, being so far away from home. Another was being on a team and competing collegiately where everybody is just as good and probably better than you as a freshman. So you go from being, in our small little bubble of California, big fish in a small pond, and then you're going and you're not the best, you're not even close to the best, you're getting beaten out by players, you're having to work harder than everybody else and still like not that starting spot. So just transitioning, I guess, from just like home life to having all that freedom, having like a different completely different lifestyle.
Yeah, I agree. I think being really far away was tough. The time change was a lot harder than I imagined. Like just calling my family every day was difficult, but I think I was lucky my year we had a freshman class of 5 and we were all from Southern California. So I definitely had people to kind of cling on to really fast, and we were all going through the exact same thing. So, you know, they helped me move in. We all went to Target and Bed Bath & Beyond together and whatnot. So I think just, again, finding good people to surround yourself with. And again, we're lucky that volleyball is a fall sport because you have your team right off the bat. You're going to get to school before everybody else. So you already have friends, you already have kind of like a built-in family. So really using that and relying on that, I think is really important.
All right. And during this pandemic, how are you guys like staying connected to your teams, or maybe you guys could talk about like what workouts your trainers are sending you, or how you guys are staying in shape out of season, like even nutrition wise too.
So team-wise, we have had a meeting with coaches every Monday, and basically our coaches take us through lesson plans, game plans, practice plans, and we watch film together. Pretty much similar things that we would have touched on a little bit in a couple of our spring practices, but just more focused now just doing video. And then they also did on Thursdays, we would do another team call and we would have like a guest of honor. And so we've had a couple of those. We had Barch, who's on the Olympic team, and just some other really cool players and people where we could ask questions of them, which is cool that I'm able to do this now. And then every Tuesday, Thursday, are just the girls. We go on a Zoom meeting and we do our workouts together. Our strength and conditioning coach has sent us home like a whole entire packet. And she does it every 2 weeks. So we have like an ever-changing one that is completely body weight. So everybody can do it at home. I don't really have stuff here. I've been using like bags of sand for weights. And nobody else really has weights. So we're using book bags with a bunch of books in them. Anything that you can think of that you can do body weight, try to add like a backpack or anything that you can make heavier just to make it a little more difficult. Nutrition wise, it's nice being home because my meals will get cooked for me. So that's the nice part about being home. I have a nice dinner every time and I don't have to like hustle home from practice to make myself a good dinner. So it's nice, and the groceries are paid for and I don't have to go do groceries and use my own money. So that's been a good part. So that actually, like, being nutritionally healthy is definitely nice at home because my mom is really into nutrition. So she helps me a lot too. I would also say just reach out to all of your teammates. It makes a big difference in their lives. If you just text them, even better if you want to randomly FaceTime them, but try to do it to everybody on their team. I'm trying to do a new person every day and just be like, hey, how are you? Can I help you? What's going on in your life? How are your parents? It just shows, one, that you care. And I think they'll really appreciate that. And that way, when you guys get back to playing together, it'll be like nothing ever happened. So yeah.
I finished my 4th year of eligibility, so I don't have mandatory workouts or anything anymore, which is great. I can speak on the fact that spring season is definitely different than fall season is. I know this one is especially unique with the quarantine and everything. It's a lot more technical, a lot more hours in the gym, a lot just kind of like, for me, I had a hard time kind of like finding a focus to like a goal. In the fall, you're always like, oh, let's go beat this team or till this match. And in the spring, it's like, well, let's prepare for August. So it's a grind, but just being present and being just like keeping the hard work going. That's kind of my advice.
All right. And now we have a couple of questions from the audience. Kyle asked, are you still able to travel abroad for a semester during off season?
So we are not at Pitt. However, we have had teammates that travel abroad during the summer and do a semester over the summer. We basically, our summer's like sectioned into two parts. We have 6 week 1 and 6 week 2, and they're 6 weeks. So they take 6 week 1 and they went and studied abroad, and then 6 week 2, which is in June, that's when we have to be on campus and when we start summer school. So they used pretty much like their only time at home for the year to go study abroad. So it's definitely a sacrifice. But if you are really passionate about going abroad, if you have a goal of playing professionally, you can go live and play professionally if that's in the books for you. We also, I don't know if every program does this, but our team was actually planning to go play in Europe for a couple of weeks this spring, right when school finished. So we were planning to leave in like next week to go and play European national teams. However, that's not happening anymore. But they try to do a trip like that every 4 years, so that within your 4 years, you'll at least get to go on one trip. So that's kind of, and we're there for like 3 weeks, but it won't be, I'm not lucky enough to go.
Well, it's very unfortunate to hear that you won't be able to travel to Europe this year, but is playing professionally in your plans? Like, is that something you want to do in the future?
Yes. So a big kind of purpose of me graduating at 3.5 is being able to hopefully, God willing, go play, graduate December, and then be able to play in January professionally overseas if I'm picked up by a team. That's the plan as of right now. So for those of you who don't know, the professional seasons, if you start in January, it's a 4 to 5 month season, and then you'll be home for summer. Or then you could graduate and do your full 4 years, and then go at the beginning of, I want to say August, like a regular volleyball season, and then it's a 9-month contract. So it's kind of totally up. If anybody's considering it, it's up to you what you want to do. As of right now, I'm going to do 4 months, see how it goes. Fingers crossed, I'll be able to go by that time. Hopefully this is all kind of cleaned up by then. But as of right now, that's the plan.
All right. Nicole asked if there's ever a time that is too late to start volleyball and to get on a team.
Claire, this is a good one for you.
Yeah, I don't think so. I didn't commit until my senior year. Our starting right side this past year started playing club her 15s year. And so I think it's definitely helps if you start playing early, but don't count yourself out ever if you started playing 14s, 15s, 16s year. I think it's all down to, again, how hard you're willing to work, how much time you're willing to put in. And, coaches respond to that. So,
yeah. I know I'm the interviewer, but one of my teammates, Caitlin Horde, actually, she started playing volleyball her sophomore year in high school, and she was a first-team All-American. So you can start whenever you want.
She's so good.
She is. She's crazy. Okay. Vanya asked if you have to be on a 1s or a 2s team to get discovered by D1 coaches.
I don't think so. As long as if you're contacting coaches, emailing them, saying, hey, can you, there are so many Division I programs. So if you are really set on playing D1, there are so many. D2, D3, any of the other divisions are not a bad way to go either. They're great. I know people that have gone D2 and D3 and absolutely love it. So as long, you just kind of have to find the right pick for you. But if you're like annoying the crap out of coaches, keep doing it. And just keep annoying them until they show up at your games and they remember you. Try to be unique in some way so that they remember you. And their coaches are always watching. So however you carry yourself, whether you're playing or you're not playing, they see you walking around the convention center. They see how you interact with your parents, how you interact with your teammates, how you interact with your coach off the court too. And so really just with recruiting, it's all about how you kind of carry yourself. And of course, there are a lot of girls that are at the top, and their volleyball skills will take them anywhere. There's a lot of girls too that have good volleyball skills, but you really have to make up with it with everything else, your character, like how you treat your teammates, and coaches for sure recognize that. They have an eye for that.
Kayla, can you talk more about your character and how just being a good teammate is so important for the recruiting process, and things that college coaches are looking for, and maybe things that they don't like too much to see by players they're recruiting?
Yeah. Something that my coach personally is really big on, and I have a feeling this is pretty universal, but they like to see how you react after you make a mistake, compared to when you do something great, and also how you react when your teammates do something great. So if you are going crazy after you just got a big kill and then your teammate gets a kill and you're like, whatever, that's probably not going to pass over well. You want to be the best teammate possible to win. The end goal is to win, whether you're thinking about getting recruited or not. And they always, even my coach today pays a lot of attention to how we react when we make a mistake, and also how you react when your teammates make a mistake. Are you getting frustrated with them? Are you like, are you kidding me? Or are you bringing them in and be like, hey, next one, I think maybe you should reach a little higher, or figure out what that individual really needs. Maybe they don't want to hear something technical. Maybe they just need to be like, hey, you can do this. They definitely see that, and they want good character people. They don't want to imagine bringing somebody into your home to like live with you and you're going to work with them every single day. You don't want somebody with a bad attitude. You don't want somebody who's going to be rude when you need help, or think of all those things. They want the best possible people. And I'd say if you're looking or talking with a coach that doesn't really care about that, you have to think, is this a good place for me to go?
Yep. And Claire, often in club or even in college, there are matches that go like to 24, 24, 25, 24, tight games. What do coaches like to see out of their players, like dealing with those like high intensity situations?
I think just like body language is really important, and playing 24-24 exactly how you played 0.00 on your face is really important. They can see if you're scared. They can see if you have like a I want the ball to come to me attitude, or if you want the ball to go to your teammate. And so I think it's important to kind of manage the pressure, and just play every point equally.
Mm-hmm. And there's definitely a lot of different environments that you have to play in, I'm sure of. So Claire, what was one of the best environments you played in? And do you have any rivalries in the state that whenever you play against this one team, it's always a big game, your student section goes crazy, does their research, who knows?
One of my favorite games was my freshman year. We actually got to play in California, so it was really nice because I could see all my family. Everyone showed up. It was just a great time, and then Northeastern's in the CAA conference, and everyone's a rival in conference, but I'd say our biggest one is probably James Madison University in Virginia. We also in Boston have like the Beanpot competition. So it's us, Harvard, UMass, and Boston College. And I'd say in terms of student section, that's the one that always gets packed the most because gotta have Harvard pride. We won every year, so it was great.
All right, Kayla, what's the best environment you've played in? Maybe you could expand on some rivalries, some things some student sections have said to you.
Sure. I love home games. I absolutely love playing in our home gym. It's one of like my favorite play. I love going and seeing other gyms, but just being home, there's like nothing like it. We have the past couple years have had a pretty big rivalry with Louisville. The two of us are kind of the top of our conference. So the past 3 years, it's been definitely a rivalry. Serena, when we went to Penn State, that was so much fun. Sorry, can you guys see my cat?
Yes, he looks very nice.
When we went to Penn State, it was so much fun because Penn State sells out and y'all had your white out, and that was just such a fun environment to play in. And for those of you guys who don't know, Pitt and Penn State have always had a tradition of rivalry. A lot of our girls are not from Pennsylvania on our team. And so it's probably more of a football basketball rivalry, more of a football, but for us, like we absolutely love playing Penn State because they're at such a high level, they're close, they're really fun to go to. So we have always like really appreciated playing at Penn State. And I think just because a lot of us have never been or like weren't from Pennsylvania, we never really grew up in that rivalry. So there's not a lot of like feel like hate between Penn State and Pitt, volleyball wise. So Penn State was fun, and then Louisville, FSU, Florida State University, a lot of fun games.
All right, and is there anything you maybe want to dish about what the fans don't see during games that goes on? Maybe like your teammates' wacky traditions they do, or if your coach has like a little pen routine that he does before each game?
We love to dance a lot. We dance all the time in the locker room before every game, before every practice. And we kind of all go around and make a circle and, one person goes in, but it's a good way to kind of get hype and get everyone on this, get your whole team on the same page with that.
Awesome. And, did you want to go ahead?
No,
sure? Okay,
ours is similar.
So.
Yeah, ours is similar. We like to dance. Our coach always is eating cough drops during our games. It's kind of bizarre, but he literally always has a cough drop in his mouth. So before a game, he has like handfuls.
Does he know he can just buy candy? Like, has anyone told him?
I think he likes the cough drops specifically because they soothe his throat, even though he's not really a yeller, so he doesn't. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, that is very weird. What advice can you guys give the seniors that are going to be freshmen next year and starting their first college season?
I think getting to know your team right off the bat and being there for your teammates. Those are going to be your people for the next 4 years. So just knowing that, call home as much as you can. I am a senior and I still call home every single day when I'm at college. I think that's a big one. Stay close with your high school friends, but get to know your college friends really well. And I think just work hard. That's all I got.
From more of like a volleyball perspective, be a learner, like every single day that you can. Try to learn something new. Even when you feel like you're playing at like your peak, there's still so much more that you can learn. And that's what your coaches are there. That's why your coaches are there. That's why you're playing Division I, to get better. So always being really open-minded to whatever your coaches have for you. Don't shut them out, or don't think that you're better or that you know better. Listen to them and learn. Another thing is, don't be afraid to be a leader when you're a freshman. It's a lot, you hear from like a lot of schools that, oh, you're a freshman, you're at the bottom of the totem pole. Maybe, but it's not really a real thing. Like, work your way up, gain respect from upperclassmen, and the way you're going to do that is by outworking them, being really caring. And then the last thing was, don't stress about things that are out of your control. You can only control so much in athletics, especially being a player. You can't control your playing time. You can't control your schedule, things like that. So just take what you can control and do it to the best of your ability, and don't freak out about things that you have no control over.
Yes. And I think maybe you guys can give the incoming freshmen a little bit more advice on workouts, because definitely your freshman year, it's going to be the first time you're in the squat rack and they're like, lift as much as you can. And that's definitely something a lot of girls are not expecting. They're expecting dumbbell workouts and body weight, and it's just not reality. So do you guys want to talk about maybe some of your workouts you have to do?
I think that was a big adjustment for me, from club in high school to college, was you just lift a lot more frequently and a lot more weight. So honestly, you're kind of just thrown in there and you're with all your team. So just you have a huge adrenaline rush that helps a lot. But yeah, just take it one rep at a time, do all the reps, never cut it short.
Never skip reps. You have to start all over.
Do more. We had a girl
Yeah.
who did one extra rep for everything, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And we all kind of started doing it, and she kind of like slowly made us all a lot better. But the weight room can be really fun. Get to know your lift coach and get to know, like, ask him questions, ask why you're doing certain workouts or certain sets and reps. That can be really helpful, and just putting a reasoning behind kind of what's going on.